Hello and welcome to a bonus video. Today we're going to be taking a look at how I've managed to perform somewhat advanced experiments on a very limited budget in very limited space. So we're going to take a tour of all of my equipment and storage. Now this is a bit of bonus content which larger creators would put on something like Patreon or something else like that, some exclusive service. However, this channel isn't that big and I would certainly like to make everything publicly available. However, I have started a Patreon account to start funding a little bit more for the work that I'm doing. So if you're interested, the link is in the description. Head over there. I don't have any other social media, so over there is the best way to get in touch with me and support me directly. I will be providing much more frequent updates on what I'm doing, so even between the video you can kind of see where I'm at in a project and what I'm planning for the next project and even beyond that. So it's a very good way to get in touch and kind of see what's going on, so check it out if you'd like. And most of the things I'll be showing today were bought either on Amazon or eBay, and I'll be providing links to everything that I can. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so I had a request come in to do a little tour of my lab setup and everything, and I thought that was a really cool idea because this is a completely modular and mobile lab. I live in America, so there's a couple of things with that obviously. So I own a lot of guns and I own a very small space to live in and pay like $1 billion for it. So I had to get quite creative. I basically set this thing up and break it down every single time I do something, just so I can utilize the space, or just so I don't have a dedicated space where things can be permanent right now. You know, I could leave things set up, but it's much more aesthetic to just be able to break it down and everything. So starting over here with the distillation stuff, I have a long Vigoro column and just a regularly big condenser. And I have a 3-neck and 1-neck 1-liter flask, and then I have one 500 and one 250, 2 necks. It is from the Vivor kit on Amazon. I will link it below. It also came with this 250 ml sep funnel. However, that sep funnel, I don't know if you can see that, but I have some Teflon tape on it because it has a tiny little hole there. And luckily, the very first time I used it, I was pouring water into it. So, big tip. Anytime you're testing some new glassware, test it out with some water, because if I had thrown like bromine in there or something, it would have leaked right out and it would have not been good. So I'm going to try and repair that. I'm just going to try and melt down a little glass stir rod right there and you know, just try and patch the hole a little bit. So I'll let you know how all of that goes. But yeah, anything that I got on Amazon, like I got this wash bottle there, all the beakers, the Erlenmeyer flask, most of this stuff I actually got on Amazon, so I will link it below. I can't remember where I got the vacuum funnel from. It's 500 mil. It treats me well. I like it a lot because it's got the clamp there, so it completely comes apart, so it's easier to clean. The Dean Stark and that addition funnel, so I have a 125 mil addition funnel and a 20 mil Dean Stark, I believe, are the only things in here that I did not get on Amazon. So I will link everything in the description below. There are some tiny little items here, like that little mini Carolina Erlenmeyer flask, and that little mini volumetric flask, and most of the test tubes in there. I actually got out of a lab kit that I was required to order for a chemistry course in school, because classes are mostly online now, so you just order kits and do experiments with a ridiculously small amount of chemicals at home. So It's quite interesting. The separatory funnels, I have a 500 and a 250. Like I said, I have to repair that 250, and I really want to because it's got that 2440 on the end. And I really like that. So if I just need an addition funnel that's not pressure equalizing, that's bigger than that 125, I'd like to be able to use it for that. The 500 works great. It's just got the regular tip on the end there. Distillation heads, I've got just a regular with the thermometer grommet on it, which I don't use at all. I've got this other one with my thermocouple well in it. That's the one that I always use, just so everything's nice and sealed. Thermocouples are just a million times better than analog thermometers. They're more responsive, they're more accurate. So that's the one I use. Just got a regular vacuum receiving piece there. I've got a Claisen adapter, and that's it for that. I would like to get a short path for vacuum distillation, just so I have to pull less vacuum, out of less space. Because when I did the key towel, it was quite annoying because I had a full setup with a full Vigro column, and it was quite hard to suck out all that air. So the last thing in here, I believe that I haven't gone over, is my drying tube. And then I haven't mentioned them specifically, but I have some funnels, a graduated cylinder set. Some of these beakers were from the lab kits, and some were from a set. The bigger ones were from a set. And then the Erlenmeyer flasks were from a set, and all of that stuff is from a lab kit, except for these little vacuum attachments. And these are really useful little things. So I have two of them. You might have seen using one of them, I put a thermocouple probe down in there and tape it up with some Teflon and electrical tape, just so I can have a line down into my actual reaction mix and have it be airtight, so no vapor escapes. So that's basically it for inside of here. I will put this stuff back, and then we'll talk about the actual enclosure and the exhaust fan. Okay, so here's the star of the show, obviously. This is a 24 by 24 by 48 grow tent, and this is the configuration it's meant to be in, obviously, because you grow plants in it. But it has a mylar coating, which has been very resistant to just about everything I've thrown at it, which is great. It does have a slight plastic layer on the top, on the inside, and that does corrode away. But the black layer holds nice and strong, and it is waterproof, which is great. This has an exhaust vent there, an option there. That's the one that I use the most, because this thing will be kind of, tilted down like that. So I have my vent fan there usually. It's got one over here, and it's got a smaller one back there. So it's got quite a bit of options. It's obviously a very cheap way for the amateur chemist with not a lot of space to perform experiments safely and with good ventilation. So what I have this paired with here is an AC Infinity 6-inch exhaust fan, because these are either 6 or 8-inch. So there's that. I've been loving that. It's variable speed. It's extremely quiet on low, and usually, unless I'm doing bromine or something, low is more than enough for me. So if I'm doing bromine, I will turn it up between low and medium. So, and it doesn't just have like 3 settings or anything. Like it's very customizable, so you can set it to whatever setting you want. And then I have my 6-inch vent hose here, It is coated in aluminum, which is not the greatest, so I do take caution there. I am aware of that. Quite reactive, so don't go shoving a bunch of bromine in there or anything. It's just held on by a hose clamp there, just a flathead or whatever the drill attachments are that can do that. I just use a flathead. And then I have this 48-inch panel that will connect the other end of my hose, and I have nice weather stripping around the outside, so I can put that right in the window and beam all of my chemical exhaust straight to the good environment. So it does not go into my lungs or anybody else's. And now we'll go ahead and take a look in the chemical area. Alright, here we are in storage, and I use primarily this shelf and that shelf and a little bit of the floor. This is kind of my trash room area. Let's start over here. So I have some of my homebrew stuff right there. I obviously don't have a large collection of that stuff. The yeast that I have is obviously in the refrigerator. I have my sieves, new and drying. I have this nice little organization thing, so I have water up here, and then also the smaller sample is cyclopentanone for TLC, and the larger one is cyclopentanone azeotrope, and then the two, I think they're 50 mil, yeah, with a blue cap. That's just distilled water. Up here I just have general stuff. I have some empty containers and pH strips and just random stuff. Down here I have stuff from the lab kits. Obviously they don't give you a whole lot of stuff. I don't even know why I have kept this. This has got maybe 5 milliliters of ammonium hydroxide in it, but you know, it's a potential space for later. And then obviously I have a drawer for empties. So I have 30 mil glass, 50 mil plastic, and then I have, I think there's a 2 dram glass, and then I have an empty barium hydroxide from the cyclopentanone video. And getting into the larger dry powder stuff, I have my sodium bicarbonate, sodium thiosulfate, and lots of calcium chloride for drying tubes and all of that. Tiny little bit of potassium hydroxide, which was gotten from Loud Wolf on eBay. I would highly recommend them. They're great. I've got some sodium hydroxide. Those are the 2 in the back. Sodium sulfate. Those 3 are the next. And I've got my sodium bromide and potassium carbonate. And then in my wet section, just methanol, hexane, 99% iso, some 3% hydrogen peroxide, and then a big old thing of sulfuric acid. And then over here I am organized between crude and final, so I've got some of the ketel that I completely forgot about, so we don't have to start all the way over. I've got some of the tar that we made. I should probably just throw that away from the last video. I've got our crude ketel, which needs to be vacuum distilled. And then for our second attempt at the bromination in Diels alder, I've got this dioxane. So I made that yesterday after I put out the video, and I just need to re-distill that because that's been sitting over some KOH and potassium carbonate. So I've got, I think, oh no, it's 80. So 80 TLC plates, they're just regular. They do not have the fluorescent coating on them. Then I've got just a random tiny little torch. It actually comes in quite useful sometimes. Of course, hot plate magnetic stir, the heating mantle, and the associated cabling for all that. I've got my nice vacuum pump, which I still do not have the right connector to go to the gauge there. So still trying to figure that out. That will pull up to 25 millimeters of mercury. So 25 mercuries. I've got a smaller vacuum pump for vacuum filtration that will pull about 6 mercuries. So definitely not suitable for a vacuum distillation, but very very quiet and compact for a vacuum filtration. I've got another AC Infinity fan because I've been loving AC Infinity. It's just been great. That one is not speed variable, but again, it's very quiet and it's pretty high power. So then I've just got random stuff, vacuum grease, some attachments for a stand, little metal spoons, weigh boats, got a little test well, my thermocouple and probes, of course, and then a little metal digital thermometer, which I don't use. And then down here I've just got the stand, some attachments for the hot plate. It's got its own little stand, some clean strip toluene, which has actually been really high quality, which is crazy. So it just came from the hardware store and then behind it I've got some clean strip acetone. And then I've got empty containers back there. So I've got mason jars and that adipic acid container back there. And that is about it for this storage area and really the whole lab setup. It's quite compact. It's not, you know, it's not the craziest setup in the world, but I don't have a lot to work with, so I try to make the most of it. If you liked this video and you'd like to follow along, remember to like and subscribe. Check out the new Patreon account linked in the description, and we will see you guys later.